that can create a lot. I'll be straight with you. With the right mentorship and leadership, and you might not even need mentorship and leadership, you could be a millionaire. Welcome back to the Happy Positive Energy Game podcast with me, your host, Luke Anning. I hope all you beautiful people are feeling bright and warm. And if not, that's exactly why I'm here. And if anything in this episode lands with you, I'd really appreciate it if you drop a share and tag me in your Instagram socials at LUKE, full stop, ANNING. We really don't ask for much over here. It's just that you take on board some of the lessons and in some way make your day and somebody else's day possibly better. The last episode, I talked about how to change your approach to anything so you can learn to release expectations and ultimately create the results that you'd like to have rather than screwing yourself. This episode, we're going to talk about, I think, the most important resource that you can have. Drum roll, please. It's attention. It's not time. So you thought I was going to say time, right? So attention follows in simile, and it does align with it, but I want to explain this to you. So a lot of people say time is money, but I really think attention and time is money. So here's a little front to kind of understand this. About 6 months ago, I was doing 12 to 14 hour days, building my dream. I was very focused on getting to 5 figures a month, and any time outside of that was training and then sleep. And I'd come out of a pretty dire situation before starting my business of falling into the wrong crowd, just endlessly scrolling Instagram and Tinder in my free time. So when I started my business to help other people live a happier, more fulfilled life, I put everything into it, or so I thought. So one of my coaches, Amara Sad, had a bit of a hard conversation with me. He was like, dude, you're working all of these supposed hours. And I'm not questioning, are you actually doing the hours? But how much of your time and attention is focused on it? Like, I see you commenting on everyone's posts in the group and hopping on calls with everyone to help them. But how productive and attentive are you? And it took me a few seconds. I was like, you know what? I don't actually know, because I feel like I'm working a lot of hours and not getting a lot back. So I did this, and this is something that I've talked about before, but it's super useful. And if you're new here, why not reiterate the same lesson? So what I did was I tracked my time with a 15-minute scheduler. So if you don't have a 15-minute scheduler, you can make this super easy. Just write, for example, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. on a piece of paper, and then put some lines in between it that make it easier. And the results, what you do is every 15 minutes, you write out what you just did. So if you were just procrastinating, then write it down. Or if you were just actually implementing work, then you put it down. And you can put an alarm on your phone. If you're working out for 2 hours and you don't want to constantly pick up the piece of paper, then just make sure you put it somewhere when you come back, so that you're implementing what you've just done for the last 2 hours. But essentially, the results were astonishing. My hours in work mode were 14 hours a day. But in that, I'd spend anything. Oh, it's so funny. But I'd spend anything from 2 to 4 hours per day scrolling social media. And I wanted to look this up so that I could get an idea of what everybody was doing. So the average person spends just over 2 hours a day scrolling. It's actually like 300 feet of scrolling's worth of finger scrolling that you actually do. Imagine what you could do if you got that time back doing this. And this is the issue I think a lot of people have, at least when people I speak to. So like single moms, busy entrepreneurs, wherever they may be in their journey. Sometimes it is about doing more, but sometimes it's not about adding more hours to your work. It's about being more productive and being more intentional in those hours that you're given. So the word intent actually means to do with purpose, which derives from attent. So where are you being attentional and intentional with what you do? Because really, we do all have the same 24 hours. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, whoever it is that you may see as somebody that's super successful, has the exact same 24 hours that you do. Sure, they may have other people that are working for them, But you don't get that by not being intentional with your hours. So I'm not one of those grindy people that sleeps 6 hours a night. I don't know if you've seen that Steve Harvey thing where it's like, successful people do not sleep 8 hours a night. It's like, yes, they do. Okay. And what I'm saying is I solidly have 8+ hours a night. So really that's 16 hours I've got. Take out 2 for training, 2 for eating. That's 12. So for you guys, the same might be if you're at work for 7 hours a day with a 1 hour lunch, then work out for 2. And I'm giving you 2. Not everybody works out for 2 hours, then eats for 2. And not everybody eats for 2 hours either, plus 1 for commute. Then that gives you 13 hours of total used time. So what are you doing for those other 3 hours? Even if you spent 1.5 hours on a morning ritual, which is a long morning ritual, by the way, then half an hour on an evening ritual, that still gives you an hour in the week. And this is in the week. This is during work time. Plus another 24 at the weekend if you gave yourself 12 hours a day. You're not even sleeping 12 hours. So I'd be curious, what can you create in a week with 31 hours extra a week? That's 40 weeks a year. That's 1,240 hours. That's a lot of time. So think about the cost of that 10 years from now. This is a hard lesson. 10 years of mindlessly scrolling YouTube and TikTok and Instagram gets you where? Fucking nowhere. 10 years of intentional work towards your dream, that can create a lot. I'll be straight with you. With the right mentorship and leadership, and you might not even need mentorship and leadership, you could be a millionaire. And this is something that I heard from Alex Hormozy. He has a portfolio of companies that does 85 millions a year. He said that most 20-year-olds could be a millionaire 10 years down the line, but the problem is most people want it in 3 months. And that's just not aligned. So you need to be very intentional with the time that you're doing. And again, it's not about necessarily adding. It's oftentimes about cutting. Like successful people aren't adding more and more and more and more to their plate. They're actually cutting things out. So sometimes they're actually asking who and not how. Not how can I do this, but who could I use to do this? Like, for example, I remember when I spent 3 days editing a logo that, by the way, you don't even need if you've got a business. I spent 3 hours editing a logo. I spent 3 days editing a logo when I could have just paid someone a fiver, a tenner to do it, which would have been way better quality, which, by the way, I've done, and then gives you back that 3 days worth of time. And even if you're not going to work during that time, that's opportunity to recover and rest. So I want to give you guys something off the back of this episode. So if you want to create the happier, positive energy game of your life, the badass way, then get really, really attentional and intentional with your time. And here's 3 things that you can do. First one, already talked about it, 15-minute schedule analysis. Number 2, turn off all the notifications on your phone, because every message, every call you get is someone wanting your attention, and that will divide your attention away from your goal. Number 3, delete applications like Tinder. Like if you're not actually wanting a relationship, just develop a relationship with yourself. I can tell you as a chronic dater and somebody who had a bit of a sex issue, who was in relationships or seeing somebody from basically 13 to 24, it's more worth your time building a relationship with yourself so that you attract somebody who is intentional with their time as well. So let me reframe that. So that you attract somebody who is intentional with their time with you, as well as you are intentional with your own time. Because ultimately you are who you attract. So if you're somebody that mindlessly scrolls stuff and just isn't intentional with life, guess what you're going to attract? It's going to be that same type of person. And the same with a 15-minute schedule. If you're losing minutes, losing hours here, think about just like, we're all going to die, right? Let's not beat around the bush. Let's be totally realistic. We're all going to die. So just realize that for me, I'm 25 years old. There's 23,725 days until I'm 90 years old. Most people average out around 70. I'm planning to live till like 100, carry on working and inspiring you guys. But what my point is being, that there is limited time on this earth for you to live the life that you want to live. So would you rather be disciplined and apply your time into yourself and into growing what you want? Or would you rather just waste it scrolling and scrolling and procrastinating? So, guys, I hope this episode helps. I really do this because I know where I was once in life, and to guide somebody else really to increase their vibes, actions, intentions towards that happier, positive energy game of life with some of these badass lessons that I've learned, then that would absolutely rock. So, with that said, keep being the badass that you are, keep taking action, be the inspiration. I appreciate you and hope you have an awesome day.